Basically, there was a time in our history where Republican politicians and celebrities could get along, and I know the pendulum's swinging and it's kind of going that way a little bit right now, but this is pretty recent and new for people in our generation. Back in the day, Jay Leno shares a story of him and Ronald Reagan, who was a Republican president, and it's actually super cool to look back on how things are kind of coming back around full circle, and we're finally getting to see normality. Anyways, really excited to see like the pendulum is swinging, and this is a look back on Ronald Reagan and Jay Leno. It's really interesting to see. Bill Maher is the one who's interviewing Jay Leno about this, and we all know where Bill Maher is when it comes to the wokeness, teeter-tottering every which way the wind blows. But before we get into the video, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to Resist the Mainstream to ensure to YouTube that you are enjoying our videos, and that way they'll continue to show up in your feed, and then they'll push it out to more people. I'm Titus. Let's get into this video.
Oh, the 80s? Why? How could I meet Reagan in the 80s?
Well, I had dinner with him. He was a funny guy.
He was a funny guy.
He was, we're sitting talking.
Yeah, I bet he was.
He says, Jay, were you a good student? I said, no, Mr. President, I was a terrible student. I was dyslexic. Jay, I wasn't a good student either. And every day I kick myself thinking how much further I could have gone if I just applied. And I thought that was the greatest.
That is great.
That's a great show.
It's a great humble brag.
Jay, you were like an Indian motorcycle. Is that right, Jay?
Yeah.
I had an Indian motorcycle. By golly, that thing was fast. Yeah, he was a fun guy.
Now, where was this? At some state dinner?
At the White House.
That's actually hilarious. And the humility of a president, right? To say if I would have applied myself, a humble brag, but also, who knows? Maybe he would be farther off. Maybe he would have become the first dictator of the entire world. Who knows? Of the entire world, you know what I'm saying? Something to aspire to, you know? I'm joking, by the way.
He just invited you over?
No, I did one of the...
the correspondence dinner or one of those.
Here you go. I'm backstage, right? I'm waiting to go on. This general comes in, you know.
General?
Well, some military guy.
I see.
Gotta go,
Yeah.
hey, you know, come here. You know who that is? That's my commander-in-chief. You don't make fun of him. You don't degrade him. You don't he's poking me like this. I go, well, I'm a comedian. No, you're not hearing it. He's just yelling at me, you know? I'm thinking, well, okay. All right. I'm thinking, oh, geez, I got to change my act. What am I going to do, you know? So then he leaves. And then what was his chief of staff? What was his name?
Jim Baker.
No, not Jim Baker.
Yes, he was. James Baker.
The second term, the other guy.
For Weinberger?
No.
Reagan. Donald Reagan.
The guy with two pegs.
Donald
Who
Reagan.
was it?
And Nancy had him fired.
No, it wasn't that.
Well, it was Jim.
No, he
Homie is struggling. Get it out, Jay. Let's go. But it is funny how the general came at him so heavily. Like, the comics are there to bring joy and laughter to everyone around. You don't need to do all this. Don't talk about my commander-in-chief that way, as if we're not all talking about everyone who's in power in some way, shape, or form. That's not the most flattering all the time. We're allowed to do that. We put them in the position that they're in. We voted for them. They work for us. I'll never forget, General.
He was somebody who had a bad toupee, who was in the administration, and he comes in, hey, he goes, come here. We need to go out there, nail Ronnie's ass to the wall. And I said, well, you know something? This general just, that's him. You don't know what he's talking about. You make fun of that thing. You think it's his hair color? You think his hair's really black? The man's 74 years old. You know, I go, well, just nail him to the wall. I'm thinking, oh, geez, I honestly didn't know what to do. Because
what did you do?
Well, my opening joke was, I said, I want to congratulate Nancy Reagan. I'm being named Humanitarian of the Year. I'm glad she beat out that conniving little bitch, Mother Teresa.
I remember you saying that joke.
Yeah.
That's actually funny. No, like the think about that, guys. This is like how long ago? Ronald Reagan was a president. Jay Leno is an up-and-coming comedian star, right? And he's going to some sort of correspondence dinner, and he's speaking, and he's being humorous, and he's loud, and everyone's in unison and fine. And this is a Republican president. One of the most well-respected Republican presidents in history from both sides of the aisle. Now, obviously, recently, a lot of people have been blaming Reagan for a lot of things, but he was well-respected on both ends of the aisle. I think he won 49 states out of 50. Like, that's insane. This guy's popularity was next level. And, like, the fact that it was normal for a celebrity like Jay Leno to befriend, to speak on behalf of the president was, I mean, at the time was normal, but things shifted. Culture shifted in such a way that's terrifying, that we couldn't even recognize that America anymore. And just to think about what's happening with this last election cycle, how the pendulum has swung back in our direction, and not even just conservatism, like just in general as a whole. Like obviously, yes, we're more, I think our country is now more center right, maybe, at least it's seeming that way based off the results of that election, seeing how we just swept everything, the House, the Senate, it's ours, the presidency is obviously ours, and seeing all these celebrities come out in support of Donald Trump. You see Bryce Hall, this TikToker who is doing cringy TikTok dances, doing YouTube boxing, doing all this stuff, came out, risked his TikTok career. This man has millions of followers across platforms, millions, double digits, like maybe triple, who knows if they're all combined. And he said, you know what, I got to do it. I got to let the world know that we cannot have another 4 years of the same administration, because Kamala Harris is basically running the seat of the president right now. Can't do that. You have Theo Vaughn. I don't think he even necessarily endorsed, but he brought Trump and J.D. Vance and humanized them to his audience, the millions of people that love Theo Vaughn. You have Andrew Schultz, who's another comedian, who's just like this funny, like just says the edgy jokes, like he's been very apolitical. I mean, he's been political, but he's been very like on both sides with a lot of things. I've seen him over the years. I thought he was funny, but I thought like, okay, he might be a little too old for me. Turns out not. Brings Trump on, humanizes him, talks about his experience, asks him actual questions. His host was asking questions to see how you're going to be. Like, what are you actually going to do? Answer even when Trump wouldn't answer questions because he's doing the Trump thing, you would like berate him, and not like in a bad way, but like try and get him to actually answer the questions that he had that he asked. It's like, I want to know. I asked these questions. I want to know the answer. I mean, all these people came out of the woodwork, and it was such. Aiden Ross brought him on his podcast, or just talking. PBD, Patrick Bet David, who's obviously a little more right. He's not like a centrist or person who's not really involved in politics at all. Then there's Joe Rogan, the icing on the cake, like biggest podcaster in the world, who was a Bernie Sanders supporter before, who respected Obama so heavily. Joe Rogan, you could see him slowly being red-pilled over the last 4 years. He's just like, well, that's kind of crazy. Like working out, I posted a video where there's an article, people saying working out is super right-wing and like to come against people that work out and want to stay in shape. He's like, that's effing insane. What is wrong with you? And so like Joe Rogan has been slowly being red-pilled by and then he's been having people on it, like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, he's had Candace Owens on. And I'm not saying they shifted his mentality completely, but I think they planted seeds. And I'm not even gonna say he's like some crazy right-wing conservative nowadays, but I think he's just kind of like is fatigued by the insanity of the left. He went from Bernie Sanders to saying, yeah, maybe I would vote for Ron DeSantis. Maybe he's someone that I would actually consider putting into position of authority or power in the presidency because of what he's doing in Florida. I mean, during COVID, the way he handled that, like people loved him and praised him. And had he not ran against Trump in 2024, he would be either the vice president or the one to be the nominee in 2028. But that's a whole nother story. But having Joe Rogan, the greatest podcaster in the world, the biggest one in the world, endorse him the day before and give him a 3-hour interview, something Kamala was unwilling to do. Things are finally going back in the direction like how Jay Leno was with Ronald Reagan back then, and maybe even better, where it's almost popular to be conservative. You see all these people walking around in MAGA hats that don't even care because, hey, we won the popular vote. We got 76 million votes. Like it's getting, and the electoral was just a wipeout. It was just complete, just destroyed the other side. And so it's cool to see we've finally hit back to a time like this interview that Jay Leno was reminiscing on, or this moment Jay Leno was reminiscing on from his past. Things are finally going good for America. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful that Jay Leno showed us a story of where we could go in the future, because who knows, maybe we're going to have Andrew Schultz opening up for Donald Trump or Theo Vaughn at a future event, correspondence dinner or whatever. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to comment down your thoughts below. I really want to know what you guys are thinking, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.